in Madison Square Garden, we have the Cleveland Cavs at New York Knicks. Knicks laying 2.5, total at 211.5. Tip off at 8:30 Eastern. This series is tied 1-1. Cavs won and covered the 5.5 point spread. Thank you, ski prophet Tony McKeon, for that cover. Cleveland showed that they can play better defense. They held the Knicks to 90 points, and they're going to have to do so again if they want to win out in Madison Square Garden. Steve Merril, what's the approach for the Cavs to keep this momentum going?
Yeah, Megan, we just talked about maybe the most lopsided series, at least one of them in the first round. Boston was a 1-11 favorite to beat Atlanta, so no surprise that that's 2-0, maybe going to be 3-0. But this is probably the most competitive price series. In fact, this and the Laker Grizzlies had the two lowest series odds coming into round one. And I think the zigzag is going to work very well here. The modified zigzag is what I like to play, and that's basically playing quality teams or the better team off a loss. We definitely get a quality team off a loss here in the Knicks, but we might actually be getting the better team. In fact, I had the Knicks as a strong best bet last Saturday for my clients at WagerTalk.com. They won the game outright as a dog, was not a surprise. Part of the reason we're hitting 80% of the NBA playoffs right now. I stayed off game two because I thought the bounce back spot favored Cleveland, but I kind of still lean New York overall in this series. So that kept me off game two. I was happy to see a blowout loss for the Knicks because one of my favorite angles in the NBA playoffs isn't just playing good teams off a loss, it's playing teams off a blowout loss, especially quality teams. And the fact we get the Knicks here as a 1.5-point favorite shows that they are a quality team in this game. So I think it's a good situational setup. And I look for New York to bounce back here at home tonight in game three.
Let's talk a little player props, Andy. I'm eyeing Donovan Mitchell here. His player point line's at 29.5. Despite the Knicks lost, they held Donovan Mitchell to just 17. Mitchell has averaged over 34 the last few weeks, so this feels like a little bit of a one-off situation for Mitchell. Would you eye the over here at 29.5, or are there some other player prop markets that we should be eyeing?
Oh man, this is a tough series. I do not have any client plays up in this one for today. I find this series tough. The only one we were rolling with was Mitchell Robinson under his points, rebounds, and assists, but they don't have a line for him right now. So there will be no client plays in this game for me. I know what you're saying about Donovan Mitchell. I was kicking myself for not playing Garland last game because in game one, Garland was kind of a non-factor. And he's too good to not be that involved. And he came back with a really, really strong game two with 32 points. I mean, Donovan Mitchell, wasn't like he shot terrible or was in foul trouble or anything. He played 39 minutes. He just only took 11 shots because Karis LeVert and Darius Garland got all the times all the production. I think this is probably a get right game for Mitchell. Garland had his 32 points. LeVert had his 24 points. So you got to believe there's a little bit more effort to stop those two defensively, which should leave Mitchell open. I don't think he's going to have only 11 attempts in this game like he did last game. So, Megan, I'm with you on that one. I can't say it's a very strong play for me personally. I think you're on the right side if you have Mitchell over his points. But for me, just a little lean.
Maybe we talk a little total here. The line's at 211.5. The under has hit in both games. And the Cavs defense was the best in the NBA during the regular season. Steve mentioned perhaps over could be the lean here. Ralph, what are the trends? What are the angles when it comes to total?
Megan, being from Cleveland, a previous season ticket holder and watching the Cavs play, I am only going to go under on the Cavs. I am not going to play an over on the Cavs, even if the situation calls for it. We're talking to becoming an elite defense, and the difference is Darius Garland. Listen, at the start of the year, once they acquired Mitchell and they had Garland, I thought they might be the worst defensive guard combo in the NBA. But when you have Okura and Mobley and Allen behind them, they really it is one of the most defensive-minded front courts in all of basketball, and they play elite shutdown defense. The difference is the defense of Darius Garland this past game. He was absolutely incredible. I mean, it almost looked back to the Jordan days, and I don't want to embellish a little bit, but the game he had might have been the best game in the entire playoffs this year. And the funny thing is this: Donovan Mitchell said, there's a couple times this season when I've seen Darius Garland when he went off for his 40-plus points that you could see it in his eyes. He said this was the first game that the entire season that in pregame He knew Garland was going to have that monster of the game, the way he's quiet, the way he went through his pregame. So Mitchell and Garland are really clicking, and that's the type of guard combo you want when you go on the road. I did not play them. I did play the Cavs for the series. That was before the series started. When you have the better defensive team as a dog, that's always the play that you want to keep in gear. But, the reason I didn't play the total was, we've seen the value go away a little bit. The first game was 216. Now you have 214. So you're shedding off a few more points. So all of a sudden now, when I did use the over in game one, we're now 4.5 points lower than that value. So I'm going to lean with the under in this game. And Steve, while you were talking, I went to the WagerTalk playoff guide that I did with my son. It's still available on his page at Sports Memo or mine. And Megan, you mentioned it. There's still a lot of great value. So, Steve, one of the angles I had in the guide, and there's 3 years of charts. There's round by round. There's seed by seed. But one of them was a team that failed to cover their last game by 21 points or more, going back to 2004. Those teams against the spread have gone 83 and 56, 59.7%. So you said you like taking teams that are off a blowout loss that failed to cover by a great margin. We can quantify that with a 60% cover rate since 2004.
Love it.
The competitive series between the Knicks and the Cavs continues. One note, New York hasn't played its best basketball at Madison Square Garden. Let's see if that changes tonight out in New York.